Good morning. Welcome to the Mayor's Weekly. And as I say each week, we're pleased to have you with us. And joining me today is Kathy Shamliss. All of you know Kathy. And we're going to spend a little bit of time this morning talking about business licenses. We pick up good information from the street and very valid questions, and not kind of questions that are not poison or hostile or whatever. And I've had a few of those over the last several weeks, and I talked to Kathy, and I said maybe it would be good this morning just to do a business license 101, if you will. And Kathy, the city is 136 years old, and somewhere far back in history, a city council passed an ordinance that laid the foundation for business license. Would that be right?
Yes, sir.
And that has been modified, I guess, over the years. And things have changed and whatever. And so where we're at today is the rules are not something that you came up with or any. It's council approved, and it's the same for everybody. If you're in the widget business and I'm in the widget business, our getting a business license is going to be identical, isn't it?
It will be.
But Kathy, first thing, a business license applies with broad scope. If you're in the service sector, or if you're in the retail sector, or if you're in the manufacturing sector, if you're in any sort of business in Jasper, you're required to have a business license issued by the city of Jasper. And one of the things I want to touch on in the wrap-up segment of this, there's some confusion sometimes about the county's business license, and that's certainly, we don't run that or whatever, but I want to touch on that in a minute. So everybody has to have a business license if you're going to be in business, right?
Yes, sir. And the ordinance lays out the process by which a business will apply for that. 90% of the license we issue it's a very simple process to get a business license. You just simply come in. We sell those on the first floor here at City Hall. We have Judy Wisenhunt, who is our certified revenue officer that sells those business licenses, and it's really quite simple. It's just a simple application. You may need to provide a copy of your driver's license, and we can take care of it in just really a few minutes.
Well, Kathy, and you buy a business license, and a business license that's good for a year, I know.
Yes, sir.
Running from to when? January 1 or?
January the 1st through December 31st. You have 1 month to come in, and that's the month of January, to renew those licenses, and then your license becomes delinquent for most businesses at the end of January.
If somebody shows up in December, can they buy their license, or they do it in January?
We like to hold they can pay for the license, but we're going to hold the printing of that business license and those funds till the month of January.
Now, you mentioned that all that's required is a driver's license?
We will ask for a driver's license if really to try to get information about the owner, if it's an individually owned business. Some businesses are corporate owned. If it's not individually owned, we're going to ask for the taxpayer ID.
So you and I had a conversation about this. A person had inquired that maybe here on a visa, whatever, but a social security number is not required.
We do not ask for social security numbers. We would prefer to get a driver's license with a birth date, just something to help identify that individual.
Okay.
if you're talking about someone that's here maybe on a visa, those individuals can come in and apply for a business license as long as they're here lawfully. So United States citizenship isn't required, but they do have to be here lawfully. And so if they have a current visa, and there's other documentation that they can provide that we will accept. And that's really a state of Alabama law that's requiring that, really not a city of Jasper.
And this is a little long, but a person's here on a visa, maybe a person's here without a visa. Can they get a driver's license? Could such a person hold an Alabama driver's license? Or
I don't know.
You don't know
I
that?
really don't
Okay,
know.
and that's really not a fair question.
Well, but we wouldn't, in a case like that, if they could produce a document that shows that they're here lawfully, we're going to sell them that business license. We would like still information about them, such as their birth date, something to identify that individual should we need to
Okay.
have information about them.
The how is the fee determined, Kathy? If business A comes, business B comes, is the fee the same, or is it how is that determined?
Well, there's different schedules based on the type of activity that business is in. So we have like a schedule A, B, C, D, and others as well. And so if you're in the business of being a professional, then there's a schedule that's being approved for every individual that's in the business of providing a professional service, such as your doctors, attorneys, those types. So, and then there's a schedule where it's really designed more for the business that's just in retail. Or if you're a contractor, there's a specific schedule for contractors. So
Now, when we talk about that specific schedule, Kathy, if we could see that, if we had that schedule right before us, what would we see? Annual revenues, or what?
and it's gross receipts. It's a range.
Is it an honor system?
It's gross receipts, and you do have to provide to the city of Jasper every year your gross receipts, which is a sworn affidavit stating that your business had a certain amount of gross receipts.
They swear that but that we don't say bring your tax return or whatever. So it's an honor system, and if you elect to not tell the truth, that's just the way it works.
It is, and of course, they're always subject to audit. We can definitely go out and take a look at anyone's records to try to determine is that appropriate. We also have information coming in from the state of Alabama related to the amount of sales tax that's being reported by the business. So we have opportunities to take a look at, is that logical for that type business? And we do from time to time see that some of the gross receipts that we've been provided really wouldn't be logical for that business. They wouldn't be able to stay in business. So, but that's that rarely happens.
Let's talk about the unpleasant side of that for a minute. And we'll just use a contractor. I'm not picking on contractors, but I just don't believe I'll renew my business license here, and we're out doing work. The penalties for operating in the city without a business license.
The penalties for operating without a business license is a $500 fine, up to a 6-month sentence that our judge could sentence someone up to 6 months in our jail.
Huh.
And that $500 penalty is every day that you operate without a business license. So you know, that's pretty substantial.
Yeah. Now, absent a business license, there's certain things that you can't do, and this is clearly a hypothetical. Let's just say a residential contractor, Vernon, Alabama. I'm just pull that out of the sky. Wants to come here and build a house for somebody. The first thing that they're going to have to do is get a Jasper business license before they can secure a building permit. Is that no?
Normally what happens is they're going to go into the building inspection department over at the annex and bring their set of plans, and that's going to be reviewed by the building inspector, and they're going to write him a building permit. So when they do that, they're going to also send them over here to get their business license.
If they strike out with that building permit and don't come to here, subject to that $500 fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they communicate. Judy and Billy or the other individuals will communicate with the license when they're looking at
Now,
that.
Another thing that we've talked about, and you've educated me on this to some degree, ABC Produce Company that's based in Warrior, Alabama. Again, just pulling that out of the sky. And they're making deliveries to our food service businesses here. Now, there's a threshold that you cross there that you can't, that you've got to have a business license. If you fall on one side of the threshold, you don't, and on the other side you do. Is that right?
That is right. And I don't remember if it's 75,000 or 100, but there is a threshold that if you're doing more business than that, then you're going to have a delivery
That's
license.
deliveries
Yeah.
into our city or
Right.
whatever. And so, like I said, ABC Produce in Warrior, if they, and that's annual, that's not to sell into one restaurant, but if they're delivering more than $75,000 worth of goods, if that is the number, then they're going to be required to have a business
Yes, sir.
license. And one of the things that I've never liked, and there's nothing you can do about that, and you see it in building supplies, that is, we have deliveries from building supply vendors that are located in other cities, and we can force them to have a business license, but the sales tax is paid somewhere else, isn't it?
Well, the sales tax, if they're delivering a product into the city to build a house here, then the use tax will apply if that company has enough nexus to the city. And it doesn't really relieve the person even building that's having the house built from the city coming back and saying you owe use tax on that if the company doesn't remit it.
Give us a little back foundation on use tax, please, ma'am.
Yeah, and it is a very, I think, misunderstood part of the sales tax law. So the use tax applies when a company, and I think an example would be if I go to Birmingham and I buy furniture, and that furniture is going to be delivered to me here in Jasper by that company, then use tax would apply in that case and is due to be paid to the city of Jasper. So it's where the title passes, it becomes plays a part of when the tax is due. So does title pass at the point of delivery? And so that's when the taxes becomes due. Now, same example, if I pick that piece of furniture up in Birmingham and I bring it here, then title passed at that store in
that's right.
Birmingham, and so the taxes are due there. So maybe that gives you a little bit of the distinction between the two.
Well, who is the watchdog and how good is the watchdog?
Well, now that's tough. Now that's really tough. And I have seen the state of Alabama do audits where people would be going and purchasing a product in a neighboring state, and it's brought into this city, maybe delivered into the city or into the state, and they have actually billed the resident for use tax. So they're tough audits to do.
Another example, and it's been like, I go to Birmingham and buy an automobile. I come back with my car, I come back with a bill of sale. We'll just say I paid for the car, then I've got something to go get my tag and whatever. The likelihood that we'll see any of that tax is probably pretty slim, isn't it?
Probably so.
Oh, that's good. Now, Kathy, I said in the wrap-up that I hear people ask this, well, I've got to buy a county business license, and you have to have both, don't you?
You do, and a state.
State.
So the county sells it's my understanding that the county also sells the state license, so it's a state, county, and a city business license.
And, we having our license doesn't relieve you from having those licenses, and we don't piggyback on prime. We've got our fee schedule, they have theirs, whatever it is, and no collusion or whatever. And I understand their frustration. Do you know if I've had this question, that the county state license, it run from 1 January to December?
I really think theirs might. Now, the counties might, but I think the state of Alabama's is a different time frame, and so they may piggyback
Confusing the folks. I guess.
And it is confusing.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to share this information with you. I know it can be frustrating, it can be confusing, and clearly if you have questions about business licenses, please ask, and we'll make every effort we can to answer your questions. And we can't make the fees go away. That's just part of municipal government, but we do want to do everything we can to help you understand, and it can really, if you have questions at the outset, it can really minimize your frustration if you get answers at the outset rather than wading out into the water, if you will, and then having to learn looking back, because oftentimes, as you point out, that's expensive when you have to learn looking back. Good. Kathy, thank you for joining us. Send us your questions. If you have any questions about business license, we'd like to hear from you. Look forward to being with you next week.